Smarter Markets is back at the FIA Boca conference. Very glad to have Yuval Rooz, CEO of Digital Asset, here with us. How are you doing, Yuval?
Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, we had you here, I think it might have been 2 years ago at this point, and I was just really curious, what's been going on at Digital Asset since then?
It's been a while, and a lot have been happening. But I would say, in the context of what is happening in this conference and what most people are interested in today, I think probably the most exciting thing that have happened recently is the SEC giving their no action relief to the DTCC to tokenize their assets under management, and Canton being awarded to be the first chain to tokenize U.S. equities and U.S. Treasuries is probably the most exciting thing that have happened since we last met.
That's great. And, people come to Boca to, meet all the people that you want to meet for the year. And I was curious, what brought you here this year? And, what types of industry participants are you looking to sit down and meet with?
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, we meet the same entities all year long, but this is, again, a good conference to have a very dense schedule. For the most part, we will be meeting with FMIs around, talking what are some of the initiatives. We mentioned DTCC, but I think the DTCC opens up kind of, secondary use cases. Once you have U.S. Treasuries and U.S. equities, you'll see other assets that come on chain. And then it's a question of what are now, joint products that we can offer? So, for example, today we'll have a meeting with 2 FMIs that are on Canton and starting to talk about, can we actually build, joint products that now their customers can benefit from, both of them being on the same protocol? So I would say FMIs and their customers are the primary type of people that we meet.
And just glancing at the conference program, it's easy to see lots of discussion of 24/7 markets, tokenization, convergence of traditional and digital market infrastructure, kind of in ways that we haven't seen in earlier years at Boca. And I'm curious, between the no action letter you mentioned from the SEC, where do you think we are in this transition from traditional to more digital assets?
So I think the transition, is already on the way. And definitely that is true for the retail side of things. But even when you start thinking about perp markets and just crypto markets, you see a lot of institutional adoption in those markets. So I think that where we are in terms of the users, we're already there. Now the question is bringing other asset classes into the technology, and that's the DTCC is a very big one. But we made an announcement with Euroclear around gilts, Eurobonds, Eurogovies, and you'll see more asset classes. So I think that the transition have already started. It's now really starting to bring more asset classes and also new type of players like the buy side that is not just going to issue assets on those rails, but is also going to become an active market participant.
And what do you see as the biggest challenge to get the buy side to come in and to expand across more asset classes?
Yeah, so it really depends which buy side. If you think about the hedge funds, they are usually, at least the large one, are very sophisticated and very much on the cutting edge of technology. So it's much easier to bring them on board. When you start thinking about the more large, asset managers, at the end of the day, what you really need to do is you need to show that the service providers that they use, whether it's the custodians or the prime brokers or other intermediaries that are helping them participate in markets, you want to see them participate first, because then the buy side could use their services. So, for example, one of the things that we proved with the DTCC is that the FCM can now allow their buy side clients to do collateral substitution, 24/7. That's a huge problem for the buy side, but they need the FCMs to solve it for them. So we really need to onboard some of their service providers into the network, get their system to integrate to the network, be able to process transactions, and then they can onboard their clients.
And I know it's early in the conference event, but I wanted to ask you, one of the things you see at conferences like this is bringing a lot of people from different parts of the whole ecosystem into the same rooms and, exchanging ideas. And I'm curious, as you talk with people across the ecosystem, as you said, to get the buy side, you need the FCMs and lots of the service providers involved. Is there anything you're finding surprising about the way certain parts of the ecosystem are thinking about this move towards tokenization?
Yeah, I mean, you have a whole spectrum. So it goes from imagine those that are still thinking to some extent that this is just yet another noise that will pass, to those that are still trying to understand what does this mean for their business, to those that are saying, okay, we will participate, to those that are saying this is going to disrupt this business altogether. And we want to be the ones disrupting ourselves and are leaning in very, very heavy. I mean, you still have this wide spectrum. I would say that the first category of this is just, a trend and it will pass has almost been diminished to nothing. But I mean, I would still say that there are small pockets of it.
Yeah. Small pockets of resistance.
Yeah.
And just thinking ahead, if you were to think of coming back here next year, what would you want to see accomplished over the next year in the space?
Yeah. So, I mean, just maybe anecdotal point. Today, we do close to 30% of the daily volume in U.S. Treasury repo in the U.S., which is pretty significant. What I would like to see is that some of those prime brokers that are part of the DTCC initiative have been onboarded and are doing a significant part of their movements of collateral on Canton. I don't know, have a percentage in mind, but what I would like to be able to say is, those businesses that were at, early adopters have actually onboarded customers and are doing a decent amount of their daily business through the network taking advantage of these digital instruments.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for making time to sit down with us, Yuval. Always
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.